Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 126 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we feature a program that has appeared in all 4 editions of the EHL Frozen Finals, the New Hampshire Avalanche. Chris Cerrella joins the podcast to look back on more than just the 2021-22 campaign, but the past 5 seasons as a whole, and how his program is just 9 commitments away from hitting the 100 mark in their short history. Later on in the podcast, the E-Crew reunites to put together a top 10 list as deep as we've seen so far this offseason. I'm joined now by Chris Cerrella, the head coach and GM of the New Hampshire Avalanche. How's it going, Chris?
Good. How's it going, Neil? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming back on probably the 6th time at this point. Funny how the podcast has grown, and funny we had to go back-to-back. Rangers and Avs.
Love it.
So I'll start with the same question I've asked all summer, though. When you look back on the 2021-22 season, what thoughts come to mind this past year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a fantastic team, 20 NCAA commitments. So every night, every game, we were putting, a future college hockey roster on the ice. So that was really exciting. Didn't end the way I think we wanted it to. Looked like we ran out of gas a little bit at the end there, but, I couldn't have been more proud of the team last year.
And I'm sure when I bring Anthony and Jeff on, we'll talk about all the years. In particular, the 18-19 season, probably your best team. A good team every year. A contender every year. But it felt like, at least from my perspective this year, people took you a little bit lighter than in years past. Did you feel that same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Sometimes it's good to be the underdogs, and even though at times we did great. I mean, great record, great college commitment record. Made it far in the playoffs, which is not easy in our league. There's a lot of parity, and so yeah. I mean, I would probably agree, but we still did well. So, yeah. But I would agree.
And obviously, you're talking a lot about the commitments, which we're not going to hide that 91 in your short time with the Avalanche. Actually, it's been 5 years now.
Yep.
But the wins also. Every single time we've had the Frozen Finals, which is 4 times, the Avs are there. Why is it not the Frozen Finals without the Avalanche there?
I mean, we've been fortunate to have good teams, right? I mean, like I said earlier, the league's got a lot of parity in it, and it's tough to make it to the end. And for some reason, some way, some shape, some form, we figure out how to get there. Yep. I don't think we have really a magic potion or anything. I just think that it's a goal of our guys when they report to training camp that we won't expect anything less. Yep. And I think that culture has been built, and now just everybody follows. Our guys right now that are coming into next year, they're on Zoom calls together and things like that. They're already building the building blocks to repeat that culture again this upcoming season. So it's been really exciting to be there every year. It's obviously a great event, and we've been very fortunate.
When you look at this year's Frozen Finals, I mean, every Frozen Finals has been different, right? The first year, you actually lost a round-robin game and went on to win the championship. The second year, far and away, just the best team, led by Nathan Pickett. The third year was that at-large bid, but you still up in the championship game. This year, I think the frustrating thing for you probably was that your top line didn't have their best week. Have you had a chance to talk to them since? What was the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our top goal scorers, Matty Carlson, Aiden Hotchkiss, Tersoni, Sondag, I mean, obviously we got contribution up and down the lineup, but, I think those guys, they played very well. It just offensively wasn't there. And sometimes that happens. It's sometimes just like in every other sport. Sometimes your starting pitcher has a great day and sometimes he doesn't. Yeah. And that's kind of what it was for us, where they still played very, very well, had a lot of opportunities. but they just didn't. They just couldn't hit the back of the net, and that's really it hurt us a bit. But I felt we did play well enough to win. It's just unfortunate. I mean, we scored goals all year.
Yeah.
I think we were second in the league in goals for, somewhere like that, and we just didn't score goals at the end.
The last game of the year is an overtime loss to the Wolves. Obviously, when it ends, your season's over. But when you take a step back and you look at all the Wolves games from this year and this past year, no two Wolves matchups are the same. Why is it so unpredictable when you face each other?
I wish I had the answer for that. I mean, they're I think our rink's tough to play in, and their rink's tough to play in. I think that definitely comes into. I think we have a lot of losses up there and not many losses at home, so they would be reversed, right?
Yeah.
It seems to become a pretty good battle, and almost I guess a rival, which is awesome. It brings a lot of energy to the games, but I mean, I think one game they beat us, we beat them, or whatever the case is, it's just always seemed to be an offensive battle. I think it's never a 1-0 game. Well, in the Frozen Finals this year it was, but it's never I think we had very random 4-3 or 1-0 games.
Yep. And you're the 8th team of the off season, and it just happens to be that I've done 2 from the north, 2 from the east, 2 from the central, 2 from the south. I just mentioned the Wolves. You also have Vermont and obviously Seacoast in your division. With every team that's come on so far, they've made it a point to talk about basically how their division's tough. Why is the North the toughest?
Oh, wow. I mean, I think realistically, and if you look at the records, just any team can beat any team in our division. I'm not saying that can't happen in other divisions, but, in our division, there's a lot of tough buildings to play in that, Vermont's a tough building to play in. Laconia is a tough building to play in, so I think we have a little bit more of that where it's some more spread out, that Boston type division, every one of their rinks are 25 minutes apart. We're getting on a bus to go face Vermont in February. Yep. That's a tough trip to make. We're going north to Laconia, an hour north to Laconia. It's a tough building to play. I think that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, is that each home rink is tough to play in.
Yep. And we touched on the EHL team making it to Providence. It actually was also your first time making it to the finals for the EHLP team, which I'm sure for Vinny was a weight off of his back. Did you have a chance to kind of poke at that a little bit with him?
No, I mean, well, yeah. I mean, Vinny, obviously, everybody knows the work that Vinny puts in. And, he's had another successful season. They go all the way to the end. It's just awesome to have 2 teams in Providence. So, although I do poke at Vinny a lot, as you know, but he was a great player when he played for me. He was a great leader when he played for me. He was great in college. Now he's coaching, and he has that same type of work. I'm very proud of where he's come. When I watch him recruit, he's like a bulldog. He just never stops. Is that what you taught him? Pretty much. And I was definitely big on not holding his hand because I felt when I was learning, nobody really taught me how to. I had to get my own niche. Recruiting is really your own niche. And, the one thing I knew he was going to do when I hired him a couple of years ago was I knew he was going to work hard. Because that's the kind of young man he is, but it's also the kind of player he was. So I knew right away. But, we've gone through a lot of philosophies, and, he's basically on his own for that. I overlook him and make sure things are right. And when I need to come in and help him out, I do. But he's doing a fantastic job. And obviously, you're the head coach of the EHL team, but you're the GM for the whole organization. When you get knocked out of the Frozen Finals at the EHL level, but he's still in, so you still go down to show up. Sure. Was there ever a hesitation where you want to be there for him and those teams? Definitely there. I did get to take the premier team to Vermont this year. I coached a couple of games. It was a fun group. And, well deserved where they got to. And obviously, what a great game there at the end in the finals. But, you got to be there. The player, we're one big family, really. The EHL and EHL Premier Team works together. We have back-to-back practices. We have kids that stay out on the ice from the Premier level to, practice with the EHL team, things like that. So it's one big family. So, for me to not be there, I would never not be there at the end. And you're starting to see guys who have a ton of success at that level move up and have success with your team. Graham Hassan being one of them, an EHLP MVP, and then moving up.
Who's next? Who can you predict to be the next Graham Hassan?
Graham's going to be tough to. Those are some tough shoes to fill. Not only just a good character player, but he was a workhorse and he can produce. So he's going to be tough to fill. But I think that we've brought up the Aaron Racinos and guys like that that I think are going to do a good job. We have a good core of premier players that have moved up from this past year's team for next year, and we're very proud of that path of development. But I mean, if you look at our roster, Baxter Kimball, who's going to SUNY Fredonia, he played EHLP for us. George McMichael, who's at Bowdoin, he played EHLP for us. So if you look at that kind of level of development that we're creating here, it's great to see Graham and other guys that have come up in the past do such a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing, I guess, who's the next Graham.
And I know for Vinny to not have an EHLP title yet, the motivation is right there to get that. For you, to have the 2 EHL titles already under your belt, plus all the commitments, what is still motivating you to get another one, to avenge the most recent losses?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. I think the college commitment thing stays the same. That's the number one goal is to get as many kids to school as we can. As we have 2002's Aiden Hotchkiss and Evan Victor that are deferred. So they're coming back as college hockey prospect players already. And that's really the idea, is to get as many kids as you possibly can to that next level as quickly as you can. And you're not the boss of that, obviously. The college coaches are. But I think so. First off is definitely the college commitment list. But then, there's a selfish part of me a little bit that, wants to come back and win it all again. Like you said, people take us a little lightly, I guess you could say. I don't think, for me, my opinion is we still had a good year, even though guys did take us a little bit lightly. But you want to win.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you want to win.
So let's pick that answer apart in 2 parts. First part, commitments. When you get to your 9th this season, which I'll make a bet you do, based off the numbers that have come in, and you take a step back and you see 100 in a short span with the Avalanche, does it surprise you, or did you expect to have this type of success as soon as you moved to New Hampshire?
Well, I mean, I think I had some pretty good success in Hartford and Walpole before. I just didn't think it was going to remain this consistent. But, college coaches, when they seem to find niches and then they stay with it. They're, beasts of habit, if you will. So, if they're going to leagues and teams and they're getting good players that are successful for them, they're going to go back to that well. And I feel that, we've had that luxury of getting good players, college recruiting prospects. We've had that success, and it's just kept on going, and it's been great. Did I ever expect almost 100 in the 5 years? No, I didn't. I figured we'd be 12, 13 a year, which is remarkable. I think really any number is remarkable, but I thought we were going to be in the dozen every year, and now we're closer to 20 every year.
How much credit do you obviously we talked about Vinny, but also the full staff includes Mario, your owner, and then Susan, who just does everything behind the scenes for you guys. How much credit do you also push towards them? Yeah,
I mean, I think like it's like I said with the EHL and EHL Premier team, it's one big family. Susan takes care of everybody, if you will. The players, the coaches, the staff. She did the rink, and then obviously Mario has put nothing but everything into the organization, from locker room facilities. We now have 2 gyms, one on site and one off site, which is tremendous. We have a full-time goalie coach, full-time strength coach, which add Justin and Rob Day into that mix as well, who do a very good job for our organization. Yeah, and I think it's a combination of everything. Yes, the play, and then on top of that, the players. We've recruited those players that have done well. So you add all that to a mix, and it's really kind of a perfect storm in a way.
And then as you look forward, we talked about the whole light mentality or whatnot, but a new season on the horizon. Not sure if we communicated it well, myself, you, and Rich. I had planned on putting a showcase matchup for you guys in the first showcase. Yeah. 2 of your first 3 games are against the Rangers. 4 of your first 5 are against the Rangers or the Lumberjacks.
Yeah.
Is there any other way to get things started?
No, I think that's great. And every year, us and the Rangers play each other either first or second game of the season. So, I think we've continued to do that. We do have an exhibition game with Maine in the North American League, and we're excited about that as well. And, the thing is you get your team going right away. That's the thing. Those are big tests for Vermont. Well, any team really is a big test, but Rangers being a rival, obviously, Vermont's in our division, so those are all going to be big games for us. And our guys are going to have to show up right away. If they don't, then we start over. Start from ground up and start over again. But yeah, I think I think it was really. I think every year's kind of been similar to that. I know we used to play the Wolves early on too. Along with the Rangers, which has just been as equally as tough. So I think it's good to test those guys out right away. And the showcase thing, playing the Rangers in a showcase. The great thing is as long as both teams are playing well, there's going to be college coaches watching.
Yep. It's going to be fun.
Very fun.
Thanks for coming back on.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks again to Chris Cerrella for coming on the podcast this week. Always a great interview and always up for a few jokes as well. Let's bring in the E crew now, Jeff and Anthony. Prior to interviewing Chris, he sent me his top 10. So we're done. We're done.
Not
guys.
Surprised.
We don't have to do anything.
Okay, pack it up. Cue the as they always say on Pilgrim Mass, cue the music. See you later.
I guess we can just
cut
the episode, just read off his list and be done.
I'll see you guys next week.
I was like, did you realize that we picked that, not you?
Well, that's very Chris Cerrella-esque. Would you expect anything else, Neil? And did he give you his one of the best laughs in the EHL?
Hey,
one of the best, loudest laughs.
Hang on, Neil. I have an idea. What if we pick the top 10 and at the very end of the episode, we can compare the list? So don't tell me and Jeff.
Ooh.
I want to do this blind.
Okay.
Let's pick the top 10 and then read Chris's list and see how it compares.
Okay.
Smart man. I like it. I'm in.
His response to me was, I just saved you guys a bunch of time. And I was like, well, it's not really the point. Like,
we do an hour episode, Chris. We're not, not here for hours on end.
Yes. So it's funny. Before we hit record, Jeff, you pointed out something interesting that Anthony pointed out last week also. And we did the Rangers last week, Avalanche this week. Obviously, two of the top programs in league history, right? Over the 9 years, really, they're right there at the top 3, top 4 in the league. But not many 100-point scorers.
No.
Right? It's just funny
surprising.
how we see 100-point scorers from different franchises, multiple ones, right? But not from two teams that could say that they're right there at the top, right? Rangers have the 1 championship. Avalanche have the 2 countless Frozen Finals appearances. Obviously, they face each other in 1 championship game, but not too many 100-point scorers. Now, they do have 2 that we have listed that we're going to talk about, I'm sure, and Tim Cronin and Matt Carlson, and then 1 at 97 where I will put this bet out there right now. Aiden Hotchkiss, returning for his final year, will get at least 3 points this year. I'll put that bet out there.
That's a bold prediction.
Call DraftKings right now and take the line, everybody. Wow, that's a real bold prediction, Neil. Jeez,
now the bolder prediction would be how quickly does he do it, right? In a game, in 2 games.
Game 1.
Right?
Game 1.
Shift
He's
1.
the captain this year, too.
Yes.
Congrats to Aiden for getting the C on his sweater. Well deserved. Yeah, I'd say 1 game, 2 tops. Who they open with?
Oh.
We just did scheduling.
I'm glad that you asked that question, Jeff. I will pull that up while we're talking about this.
Because I think I might be putting a bullseye in my back saying, he'll get it in game 1 because whoever it is it Rich DiCaprio's Junior Rangers? I'll be getting a text right after he listens. Ding! He's not scored 3 points on me. Oh, all right.
So last week we put 3 goalies on the list. Can we do 3 goalies again?
I was just going to say, this team is built similar to the Rangers teams in the past. Very strong from the back end out. A lot of good goalies you can just think of right off the top of your head, right? McMichael, Peg, Luca, Ronan Mobley from this past year, LaRusso. That's just 4 right there. And there's definitely some more others than that. So it's possible. What do we got?
Before we dive too deep into the goalies, two of the first 3 games of the year for the Avalanche are against the Rangers.
All right.
A Rough Riders in between, 2 Vermont games right there too. What a start to the year. That's not easy by any means. But let's get to the goalies. Because last week we had Miller, Egbert, and Gerard.
Mm-hmm.
From the
Nathan
Rangers.
Pickett, another one I forgot. Jeez, sorry, Nate.
I mean, you could have Mobley, you could have Pickett, Pagluka, McMichael, Matt Lane was just a single season, Sorgio,
Mr. E-Bug, Kyle Connon. Hey,
yeah, I remember him. So
got his NHL appearance this year, Kyle Connon, for those at home that are not following along.
One of 2 goalies in the EHL who served as E-Bugs this past season, along with Kyle Shapiro.
That's right, Ant. That's right, bud. And Connon was with the Blues, I think. He was the one.
Yep.
Did that epic lap. Which one was the one that had the long long flow? Was it Connon?
It was Connon.
Was it Connon?
It was funny because Kyle skated without the bucket, and then when Shapiro served as the E-Bug, PK Subban told him that he had to do the same thing, take that first lap without the helmet on.
Show it off.
So I know there's going to be at least one goalie on this, and I want to go back to the 18-19 season, which was the last year the Avalanche won the championship. They were in the 2020-21 championship game, didn't win it, even though it was a great season for McMichael. We'll probably talk about him. But in that 18-19 year, nobody was really better than Nathan Pickett. And you almost forget just how good he was that season, winning 30 games.
And lost 2.
Like, that's out of this world. His playoff numbers. Oh, where the playoffs go?
He saw almost 1,000 pucks.
Because if you remember this, Jeff,
69. Wow.
It was between him and Brendan Brawley, because Brawley set the record for shutouts in a season that year. I think Brawley got the Goalie of the Year award, which only motivated Pickett to go out in the postseason, win all 6 of his games with a 1.17 goals against and a 958 save percentage.
Is that good?
And if you remember, that includes probably arguably his worst game of the year in the championship game. Because remember, we were like looking at each other like, how is this game 2-2 after 20 minutes with these 2 really good goalies?
Mm-hmm.
Only 22 saves. I mean, he was out of this world in the postseason.
Yeah. Couple of goose eggs there.
Shutout,
the Rangers,
1 goal.
Knights.
Shutout, 2 goals, 1 goal.
I mean, that was the second time he faced the Philadelphia Little Flyers that postseason.
Yep.
On the schedule, there's that 3-2 win.
That was in the round robin.
He gave up 2 goals, but he still put up a 947 save percentage that game.
Yeah.
Alo must have been burning up the tapes there, and they saw something in the scouting reports of game footage on him. But yeah, what a postseason. So I think so. Do we have our numero uno boys?
There's at least one goalie. I'm not sure where he's going to fall in the list here, but I want to make sure we put at least one goalie on to start.
Absolutely.
Because
if you were to put another goalie, would it be Ronan Mobley?
Mobley or McMichael?
I was just going to say, I liked McMichael's posted. I mean, that year too, we've talked about it with a lot of these teams that we've gone through with the this past off season, the COVID season. We don't have to, bring up too many bad memories, but that was a season to put it lightly. And for them to get all the way to the postseason with the different format, being the Cinderella team, McMichael was very, very good. He was unbelievable in the championship game.
And Mobley both.
Mobley too. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That's something Cerrella likes, the righty goalie. Who else is our I have to look at everybody now. Just those two?
Just those two.
There's a goaltender on Twitter who, played in the NHL. He's an AHL broadcaster now, Mike McKenna, and he's a very big proponent of encouraging, like, if goalies skate out and they're right-handed, then he would say, then you should catch with your right hand, because it's not hard catching with your throwing hand, and it's better because then you can play the puck better.
One of the best guys in the game, Anthony, Mike McKenna. Because when I worked for the Portland Pirates for a season, which was right here.
15. Oh,
14, 15. That's who the goalie was, Mike McKenna.
Yep.
Wow.
He was one of the
those
best
numbers.
guys. So back on track, though, I guess. We have a goalie. Let's go back now to those top scorers. And I think we'd be remiss to not put Tim Cronin on this list. But what a lot of people don't know about Tim is he was more than just a product of their EHL team, right? Because he actually spent some time with their 18U team as well. And definitely played a few games for the Renegades. I totally forgot about that.
NJ Renegades legend.
Wow, a 3 spot.
I think he was just getting out of midgets and was trying to get some time with the EHL team, and they got him a few games as a showcase with the EHLP Renegades. Because then
that was the inaugural year, right? 17-18 was their first season in the EHL.
Yes, and then he spent the next 2 years. You said symmetry, Jeff. How about you love PIMS? 65 PIMS year 1, 65 PIMS year 2.
147 total. I don't remember Cronin being as much of a sin binner as that.
He was a fraction of Brad Marchand.
You're putting it
like a little bit of a pest, right?
Talented, can score, but will pester you.
He finished his hits, right? I mean,
yeah,
and even 100 points in the regular season, added 4 points in the postseason. Was obviously on that 18-19 championship team. Would have loved to see what would have happened for him in 1920, but now he's part of a plethora of players at SUNY Brockport.
See you this fall. I was just talking to Dom Sherko the other day. He's like, I hope I see you up at Brockport this winter, Jefferson.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, you and the rest of the EHL alums.
Matt Carlson also has to be on this list, which I guess brings us to story time. And maybe a little bit of a repeat story for the podcast, but Matt Carlson was part of Team Blue, which was Jeff's team at the inaugural EHL All-Star Classic, which was coached by Ryan McGrath and Corey Filite. No, Filiti, sorry.
Thank you, Tyler Drummond. Coach Filite. Hey, Coach Filite.
And do you remember what were you there when Corey was talking to Chris afterwards? Chris Cerrella, obviously the head coach of the Avs.
Yeah.
So Corey, the head coach of the Wizards, says to Chris, "I'm glad we worked that trade out." And Chris goes, "What trade are you talking about?" The trade for your captain. Can't wait to bring him in after the holiday break. And Chris goes, "I'm not trading him." And Corey goes, "Yes, you are. I'm taking Carlson, and you can take 5 players." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yes, just write in, fill in the blank, 5 players."
It's a 5 for 1.
That's a really lopsided trade, Corey. He goes, "No, I love this kid. He's been awesome all weekend." And I was like,
now you have no first and second line anymore. Yeah. You just traded all your forwards. So.
And Chris looked at me and was like, is he serious? I go, I think he's joking. He could be serious, though, at the same time. I was like, I don't know. He goes, I'm not trading Carlson. I was like, okay, that's fine.
Was Carlson on that line with Scotty, Cole Scott from the Wizards?
I think he may have been.
They had some good chemistry.
Yeah.
We built a good team, the Blue Boys. We did it well.
But
Can't wait for next year.
2 seasons with the Avalanche. When you combine regular season and postseason and even 100 points, heading off to Wilkes this fall, one of the top Division III programs in the country. So definitely on this list. So there's 2 forwards so far in Cronin and Carlson, and 1 goalie in Pickett. Now,
Matt Carlson's mom, part of the famous mom crew too, with Tammy Aarons, and I'm blanking on Mrs. Carlson's first name, but they were all awesome at the COVID playoffs when they all came down, because everyone was finally released from their backyards and everything. So
yes. One thing that Chris always pokes at me about is how the Avalanche never win awards in his mind, right? And
always something.
I'm like, well, to Anthony's point, there aren't there's not a bunch of 100-point scorers. It's always kind of just been a balanced team effort. Like maybe the year Pickett won or didn't win goalie of the year. He could have won it over Brawley, but really it was like a coin flip between those two that year. Brawley was out of this world, and Pickett right there behind him. Corrales won the Defenseman of the Year award over Zeke Moroz that year, right? So like the Little Flyers got one and the Avalanche got one, as opposed to one team getting two, other team getting none, right? But
how dare you, Chris?
Yes, but if there were ever two forwards that had a case on the offensive side of the game for Chris, it was Wiggle Kerbrat and Jake Atkins. And they were together a part of that the 18-19 team that obviously with Pickett won the championship. They were on another level.
Yep.
And if they had spent more than a year, I mean, I know Kerbrat got there late in the 17-18 year. So technically he's a two-time champion. But if they had spent more than a year with the Avs, I think they would be far and away the 1 and 2 scorers ever in the team history, right? Like they were so dynamic.
They would have eclipsed 100. Easily.
They were together on a line, and I'll never forget the play when Kerbrat collected the puck on the half boards, right? So he's at the hash mark basically in his own zone, flipped it to Atkins, who somehow like collected it off his knee, then off his skate, and like settled the puck down, went in and just roofed one, and I was like, ew. like
as Anthony likes to say, stinky.
Like I was like, that was that like a set play? Have they practiced that? Because that was disgusting. So I mean, Kerbrat, as I mentioned, he came late in the 17-18 year, quickly put up 11 points in 14 total games down the stretch, right? And then the next year, that's a solid 77-point season, regular season and postseason combined.
Yeah, no biggie.
Now at Wesleyan. Atkins was just that 18-19 year, 70 points combined of his own, and now at UMass Boston. I think easily they're both on this list.
Yeah. And Atkins was the one that was part of the rollerblade across America story. That's a great story to tell too, Neil.
Yes.
Oh, so, tell me more.
So they skated, him and his teammate Andy Walker, to raise money for cancer research. Rollerbladed from Boston to Andy's hometown in Michigan.
Yeah.
Like,
and they took videos there. I remember seeing it on social media. That was like,
that's a journey.
Wait, was that Kerbrat or was that Atkins?
Jake Atkins.
Atkins,
yeah.
Okay.
And his father Blake was always a huge supporter of the league. You still see a lot of his company's backpacks everywhere, right? Anyone that you see that looks like this with the team logo.
Oh yeah,
that's his company. And he followed behind them with an RV the whole time. And man, like I couldn't even imagine rollerblading to Mass from here, right? Like what? Like
rollerblading to Chris's house down the street,
like 20 miles. Like they went like on a journey. And credit to them, right? Like that, like to do something like that, you have to set your mind to it, really, right?
Yeah,
and
no, absolutely.
I think I remember I had them on together, him and Andy, at one point. I don't know what episode. I have to go back and see. But I asked them, like,
yeah, you definitely did.
Did you ever want to quit? And they're like, yeah, too many times, but you just couldn't quit. So awesome kid, though. Obviously at UMass Boston now, which just like I mentioned for Matt Carlson, with Wilkes, and then Cronin with Brockport, and Kerbrat with Wesleyan. Like, look at the schools those guys are all at, like high end Division III colleges. So, which we know the Avalanche are right up there with anyone placing kids into school. I'll pull up the number so we could say that we said it right.
Please do, or else you're gonna get a call real soon.
So, I mean, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. We're at 91 commitments.
Wow.
19, 15, 19, 18, 20. So
high teens, 20s, all day, every day. That's phenomenal.
That 100 plateau is coming this season as well, for the Avs in terms of commitments. But quickly,
Chris and Mario basically find a spot for almost everybody on their team to go to college if they want to play, plus or minus a couple guys.
That's huge. Quickly, that's 5 guys, right? Tim Cronin, Matt Carlson, Wiggle Kerbrat, Jake Atkins, and Nathan Pickett. Now, Anthony, I'm not telling you Chris's list until the end.
I like that.
No. Yeah, no,
Okay.
wait until the end.
Okay.
And speaking of Chris, why don't we put Chris Aarons on, Neil?
Yep.
Former captain. Kid was tough as nails. Speaking of nails, didn't he have Tammy tell us his mom, Tammy Aarons? Hi, Tammy, if you're listening at home. She still follows us on social media. We miss you. And the whole Aarons family. Didn't she tell us that Chris had like screws or nails in his foot in that championship game against the Rangers a couple of years ago? His foot was like broken. It was like a mess.
Yeah, it was definitely broken. I remember that.
And he just got it out, played the entire time, was blocking shots, throwing hits right in front of the net. You never would have known. Kind of like Valerie Nikushkin with the Avalanche. They showed the X-rays of him. Oh,
yeah.
These hockey players.
I think Aarons is the only guy who's actually spent a full 3 years with the Avs.
Mm-hmm.
In 18-19, that championship year, he scored a goal that was shot by Jake Mendezoon. Remember this, Jeff?
Yeah.
And like half the team was celebrating with Aarons in the corner, and half was celebrating Mendezoon at center ice. And they're like, "I scored. No, you scored. I scored." And like, guys, it's the championship game. I don't think it really matters. The puck's in the net, right?
Right.
But then he was the captain the next 2 seasons. I think that's probably what he looks back on is like being the captain that 1920 year, not knowing what would have happened, right? And then being the captain the 2020-21 year, and obviously losing in the championship game. So, yes, there is a title on his resume, but I'm sure in his mind he's still kicking himself that there's not a title while he wore the C for the team. But
that year he battled it. He only played half the season too, 21 games.
Yeah, he was the
20.
If we did an all-time toughest team, it would start with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and not the biggest kid by any means at 5'9", which I can say because I'm 5'9". rounding up a little bit, right? But
how's the weather up there, Neil?
It's not much different for me, Anthony. I mean, just one of the best kids though, and one of the best families though we've ever had in the league. So Chris Aarons, without a doubt on this list.
You just talked about Zune. I mean, we don't have any defensemen yet. We got to get a defenseman on there. Do you want to talk a little bit about Jake Mendezoon? He was good points getting, but sturdy defenseman as well. Kind of two-way D-man. Another Brock Porter. What do you know? Hey, they like us. Freaking 6'4", 200 pounds. Big dude. Brother Ian.
Elite Prospects is killing me right now. They keep playing these ads.
So many ads. Oh,
it's like
love you,
music.
Elite Prospects, but
I don't need the music right now. I decline. I don't want to hear that.
No, thank you. We're recording. Thank you. Recording in progress.
But
that's the old lady that pops in our ears.
2 seasons with the Avs. He was just rock solid, man.
Yeah.
64 points in the 2 years. I know Brittany would be mad if we didn't mention that. Often she picked him in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I remember we got into a heated argument over a secondary assist once that I was like, there's no way. Like, it wasn't his assist. He was on the bench. Like, there's no way. And she was like, go back and watch the film. And sure enough, he makes the pass and the play continues for like a solid 10 seconds, 15 seconds, right? And nobody else touches it. In that time, he got on the bench. He got a change. So technically, yes, it's his assist. Yeah. But technically, also, he had no impact on the play. But whatever, like I'll count the assists. Man, that one really pissed me off. I had to get it off my chest. But he was awesome.
We're already up to 7 people now.
Yes, and he was part of that 1920 EHL All-Star team that helped us go 1-1-1 against Salem State, UMass Boston, and Pittsburgh State. So, definitely has to be on this list.
What about Michael Tersoni?
Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't really talked. We did talk about
season, 66 points.
I mean, you can make the case that no one has ever shot the puck harder in our league, right?
Probably one of Chris's best sniper type scores too, because they were talking about how he usually has depth scoring, but this kid.
How would you compare his shot to Colin Bella? Because at least from what I haven't watched Tersoni as much because I'm down in the South. I know Colin has a hard shot. How does Tersoni compare to that?
The first thing I thought of with Colin always was Colin's shot was probably a little bit more accurate, right? Tersoni's shot was just a little bit heavier, right? Maybe not
velocity.
The pinpoint accuracy that Bella had. And not to say that there isn't accurate shots to come off the stick of Tersoni, right? But I just remember with Bella, it's like, oh, there's a spot right here next to your ear hole, and I'm gonna shoot it right there, right? With Tersoni, it felt like there's a spot there, but if I get part of your face mask, it's gonna go through your face mask and then get into the net also. Like I remember the very first game of the season, I actually called it with Tyler, and Tyler immediately like fell in love with Tersoni, like on the air and everything. Was like, I love it. I love him. He's the best player. Like because there was just so many chances for him to score. I think he had a hat trick in that game. Back to points.
Sounds about right.
Back to points on opening night there, Jeff. But
you're saying it could happen.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
come on, Aiden. 3 points. Get to the century mark.
But to Anthony's point, 66 points in the regular season. Played in nearly every game, 44 of the 46. Didn't score in the postseason, which I'm sure frustrated him a little bit, but still had 3 assists.
That was puzzling. A lot of those guys were kind of quiet at the Frozen Finals this year. Tersoni and Carlson and some of those guys. But Tersoni is coming back.
No.
Oh, he's aged out.
Yes, he's the one that's going to the University of New England. His line mate, Hotchkiss, is coming back.
Hotchkiss is coming back.
Tersoni, by the way, is tied with Wiggle Kerbrat for the highest points per game. And Tersoni also has the most points of any Avalanche who's only played 1 season. Atkins being right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh, these ads are killing me now. Jeez. Taking their turns. Go away. Ads. Come on.
So that's 8 so far. Now, I know you want to wait, Anthony, but I'm just gonna say it. We're perfect 8 for 8 so far.
Oh,
I have to just say it, all right? Because this is
where Neil.
This is where it gets interesting, right?
Oh boy.
And to Chris's credit, he knows his team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the next
we know
few,
it better.
The next few are going to be a little bit interesting.
Yeah, because
right?
I'm looking at this the middle of the list when you get to like the 8 through 16 on EP. You could pick any of those guys. I remember Jared Sleer. I remember interviewing him at the first Frozen Finals before we have the monstrous setup we have now with all of our crew. Sleer was a great player. Nick Krallis, we mentioned.
I mean,
earlier.
Nick Krallis won Defenseman of the Year. We haven't even put him on the list yet.
Parker Sondag, Matt Kasib, who we learned was Kasab after 3 years with the Avalanche, or vice versa. His dad was like, "Oh, it's fine."
Kasib. Yes.
Kasib. Artem Matachenko. Victor Nikiforov was another guy I used to love.
Yep.
Al Leclerc, son of John Leclerc. We met John Leclerc those years ago.
Oh man, remember that? That was an
Holy.
Avalanche versus Revolution championship game. Not the year that Caden Primo played for the Revolution, but at that championship game, I remember looking down and I was like, Jeff, that's John Leclerc, and Jeff, that's Keith Primo.
Keith wearing his Northeastern Huskies. Go Huskies, my boys.
I was like, there are 2 massive individuals at this game right now who on
opposite ends of the ice, too.
Literally staring across at each other.
Yeah.
Each wanting one side to win. Each were just beasts in the NHL. And I was like, that's kind of cool.
The hands on those guys. Holy smokes. Leclerc is a huge dude.
Yes.
Really nice guy, too.
Yes.
But Leclerc was another one, too, that he was only there a year. Was really impactful, Cal Leclerc, but another guy was just a quick little in and out.
Can I tell 2 stories about Nick Krallis? Because Nick Krallis has to be on this list. He was Defenseman of the Year that 18-19 season. So let me put Krallis on this list first. So, oh man, these are 2 great stories. You're gonna like these. Was it just 18-19 or was it actually 2 seasons? It actually was 2 seasons, 17 to 19. So the first year of the Frozen Finals was 17-18, second year 18-19. Avalanche won each year. Obviously, this past year, the third time we were in Providence, they lost both games around. So if you focus on just the 2 years prior where they won the championship and we were in Providence, the Avalanche were nearly perfect. They won 2 of their 3 round robin games their first year, and then the championship game.
Just made a lot of ears bleed saying that, Neil.
Yes,
but...
and then they won all 3 of their round robin games the second year and the championship game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they won all but 1 game in their first 2 years in Providence. So they were a combined, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 1, right? 8 games, 3 of which were against the Little Flyers. So there's kind of that born hatred, even though they didn't face each other that often. And the one loss was against the Little Flyers in the round robin the first year. I want to say it was like 2-1 or 3-2. And there's a play down by the Avalanche net where it was just like chaos, bodies everywhere, goalie goes flying, puck ends up in the net, and Chris is beside himself.
Saying
goalie interference, you gotta call it this, like screaming up on the press box. I'm like, Chris, calm down. You're a guy, cross-check the player into the goalie and like cause the whole thing.
I do remember that.
Him being Crawless. And we pull the video up and we're watching the play, and I'm showing Chris, and I'm looking at the screen like this, and I turn around, I'm like, see, Chris, he cross-checked him in. Chris is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, where'd he go? So
didn't want to hear it.
I walked down to the locker room and I was like, what happened? He goes, I saw it the first time you played it. Okay. You don't have to rub it in. I was like, rub what in? He's like, I was wrong. You were right. I was like, oh, wow. Can I hit record on this too? Like,
right? Save that for a rainy day.
So obviously it all played out in the Avalanche favor. They won the championship that year and the next year. And nothing against Crawless, right? Because he was a fantastic player, but he caused that situation. But then to keep the Crawless stories going, a player who he was often paired up with, but won't end up on this list, and unfortunately he'll be mad at me for this. His D partner was AJ Prestowski for all those years.
Priz. Yeah.
AJ is probably one of my favorite players to ever play in this league. Just down to earth, funny as hell. And AJ
Cortland now.
Yes, AJ once said to me, "If you touch Knicks, I will hurt you." And I was like, "What?" I was like, he's like, "That's my message to opponents." He's like, "That's my D partner. Like, you don't touch him." And there was one play where like Crawlins got like hit from behind. The ref had the call, like arm up. He's gonna call checking from behind or boarding or whatever. AJ has the puck, fires it on a tape-to-tape pass to the kid that had just hit Knicks, and then just two-hands him. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? And Chris goes, you can hear Chris, AJ, we were going on the power play. I know you want to protect him, but the ref had the call. Like, why do you have to do that?
Let him go, buddy. Let him go.
And you could just hear AJ yell back, Chris, coach, you don't touch my D partner. Like, I was like, man, like I couldn't handle it on the air. I think I was just laughing the whole time.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
that's
AJ
love.
though,
that's true love right there.
Yeah, AJ though, he won't be on this list. I'm sorry. Like he was just more of a defensive defenseman. There was a period actually where I think the Avs put him like on the second power play unit, and they said just stand in front of the net and don't move. Just like cause a screen.
Like the Bruins used to do with Chara, big body, he's 6'4", 216. You throw him in front and friggin'.
Yeah, I mean, here's a pair. I remember those 2 goals that I see listed right here were from AJ being in front of the net.
Yeah, 5 goals in 2 years, over 70 games action. Followed suit at I forgot he was at Brockport, then transferred to Cortland.
Yes,
That's
so
right.
Another.
And he actually played with Chris at the Wolfpack too.
Yes, trust the process
from Hartford. Yeah, trust the process. That's right. From Hartford to Hooksett, New Hampshire.
Do we need a third story
for AJ?
Go right ahead.
Yeah,
we're going to another guy.
So AJ, third
You're making
story.
up so he doesn't come to knock on your door and beat the crap out of you for not putting you on the list.
AJ, third story. Oh man. So it may have been that season. 17, 18, or 18, 19. Vicky and I were moving apartments. We were moving from the second floor of our apartment building up to the third floor because the person I'm convinced that the kid above us every night at 9 o'clock was playing legit basketball, like legit dribbling the basketball and putting it in a hoop in an apartment. I was like, I can't take this anymore. Like we couldn't do the podcast. Probably there was no podcast at that time, but I was like done. Like it was like a hard dribble, and I was like, let's just move apartments. So they actually moved us up one floor, and I was like, it was the day after a showcase, so like it was like busy, and I was like, I gotta make this
Avs moving crew story.
Yes, I gotta make this go fast, and all this get the Avs to come down. So Chris sent like 8 players, right? AJ took the couch and put it on his back, right? Oh. And he's like by himself. He goes, I think I'm good. Someone just give me a little nudge on the back end of the couch, and he just carries this thing upstairs. Right?
Not the one you guys have now, not the
no. This was a different couch. Actually, different couch that I eventually gave to Chris. Funny how the whole world turns, right?
What do you know?
But
the more you know.
So like they do this whole move, and obviously I got them pizza and like tipped them a little bit for their services. Aww. Everyone leaves, and AJ is just sitting on my couch, and I'm kind of like,
we're hanging out.
Could you get out? He's like, no. He's like, where are we getting drinks after this? And I was like, oh, no. No. He's like, players turn 21 during the season, Neil. I just turned 21. See, because he's an August birthday, right? So he turned it right in the beginning. And I was like, no, that's not happening. Like, we're not doing that. He's like, all right. After my EHL days are over. I was like, sure. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yep. We're no longer working in the league, and I'm, upper management, you're playing. Yeah, not a great look. All right.
Yes. But there's 9 guys so far. Some awesome stories because I've had some great times with the Avs, right? I mean, it feels like every time I'm at the ice then, like mid-game, Chris will like tell his team like during a timeout to yell up "Hi, Neil" while I'm on the broadcast.
Well, just like you were with the Wizards, you were the lone play-by-play man for them for years, and I filled in for you admirably a bunch of times, and then now Tyler took it over this year doing a bunch of games. So
one of the best vantage points, Anthony, you would love it because
I was about to say, Neil, you've been there because you always talk about how I took the ride with the Lumberjacks bus.
Yes,
it was because I went from Hooksett to Exeter.
Yes, did I warn you?
It is a perfect sideline.
Did I warn you about the possibility of getting hit there? Because you could get hit by a puck.
Oh, easily.
I don't think you have, but I was able to put 2 and 2 together. Being the vantage point, the fact that there's no protective netting, which I'm honestly okay with.
I like it better too, Anthony.
I mean, I forget who it was, but someone came around the net once and was trying to flip it off the glass and out of the zone. It missed the glass. It missed the little window pane, I guess you can call it, of the section where you can sit, and it hit behind my head off that like the warm-up glass to that warm room, and then kicked back onto the ice. And I was like, if I was looking down, that probably would have hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you gotta look alive up there though.
I think we almost got ripped together that opening. Remember we were wearing masks, and that was the first game of the 2021 season.
Yeah, I think
we were like 20 feet apart, and I'm pretty sure we almost ripped that game too.
Yes.
Like, Neil, Earhart, all right. What a season. What a year.
You gotta just look alive when you're there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I've been to the ice then. And it's a great facility. And I agree, Neil. It is a very good vantage point.
Great lights too. Nice and bright. They shine right down on the ice, not dark at all. Perfect for Trevor Blackburn's TV videography.
Yep.
9 for 9 so far.
Oh, we're gonna screw up the 10th then. It just means that this is too because man. Like I said, that giant that middle list, you guys agree you could pick a lot of those guys.
I mean, I have 2 right now. I feel for me, it's probably a toss up between Parker Sondag and Ronan Mobley.
Okay.
I like both of those.
But I also have recency bias.
Yep.
I know he was a big Matachenko guy too. Artem was another guy playing for Manhattanville now. Ukrainian native. Another guy that was not big at all. 5'7", 146.
Yep.
That is light.
It's crafty though. He was one of the most skilled forwards
Yeah.
they've had, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't give it away. This is what I want you
No,
to.
you know we don't.
Yes. I mean, if I say a name, it gives it away, right? So
Yeah,
Yep.
don't. I mean,
What are we
don't
thinking,
tell
Anthony?
us who that last pick is. I guess that's for me and Jeff to figure out.
Do we want to put a second goalie in? That's another debate of this. Mobley is their all-time games leader now. It's 60 after this past year, 2 years. Only 2-year goalie of
Mobley,
all those guys.
I feel like was the EHL version of Brodeur, where especially this past season, he played almost all the games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very rarely sat. One of those guys that he gets better with the more pucks he sees, doesn't like rest. Neil's just sitting there smiling for everybody that can't see him right now.
I mean, I wish Chris hadn't sent me a list before we got this whole thing started, but it's where we're at now.
Mm-hmm. We go Mobley, Anthony.
I put Mobley in there.
All right. Neil, are we wrong? Are we right? If we go with Mr. Ronan Mobley, don't call me Mobley, it's Mobley.
There's just a few other names that I want to mention.
Oh, we're wrong, Anthony. Darn it.
So I know Jeff mentioned his name earlier. This is the one that Chris had. We don't have to have Jared Sleer, right? But he was a part of that 17-18 season. I think he was actually the MVP of the Frozen Finals that year because he had 6 points in Providence, right? He's now
I think that's why I interviewed him, yeah.
He's now at Plymouth State. Other names that we didn't say, I know Jeff mentioned Mark Matachenko, Parker Sondag. I think Jeff mentioned Victor Nikiforov as well.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Brittany was a great player for them for a season. Graham Haston, EHLP MVP his first year, then EHL this year, and then off to now New England College to play both golf and hockey.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me about him.
Yeah. James Zanka was a solid D for that 17-18 season.
Andrew Clifford was good.
We talked about toughness earlier. Baxter Kimball was tough as hell throughout his time in the league. Thomas Dempsey was a very sturdy defenseman. I think I skipped over just one season for
Josh Higgins.
Just defenseman, but I think people underrated Jacob
Lita.
Yeah, Ida was so good his single season. He actually scored, I want to say, twice for the EHL All-Star team in that 1920 season. I know he scored a goal against Pittsburgh State, and I think he scored a goal against Salem State as well. So,
one of those smart kids too, going to the Tufts Jumbos.
Yes,
he likes math, like Neil.
So, I mean, it's your pick. If you guys are sticking with Mobley, that's fine. I'll put him on here. I'm just saying that in Chris's mind, it was Sleer. It doesn't have to be Sleer though.
Right. I mean,
well, Sleer also played a year with the Hartford Junior Wolf Pack.
Probably a little bit why Chris felt the way that he did.
Another guy, has a soft spot for his old Packers that he brought to. What a contrast! So I go from Hartford to Hooksett.
little different.
Yeah, a little different.
We got a few more trees.
A bit more green.
We got a few more trees up here.
A few more. A little less chaos. Less violence.
Oh my God.
It's a little wild in Hartford.
You guys,
I was gonna say, Neil, do you agree with Mobley? What do you think? Would you go Sleer? I remember Sleer. Sleer, very good player, like we said. Chris Breenham from the Wolfpack, but I don't know.
I think I know Mobley was a little bit. He struggled a little bit down the stretch this year, but still was a huge reason in getting them back to Providence again.
Have to look at his overall body of work. That was kind of a bitter ending. Not even bittersweet, just bitter ending for him.
Yeah. I mean, we've had the Frozen Finals 4 times. The Avalanche have been in the Frozen Finals 4 times.
Yep.
So
they keep on and knocking.
The first year was really a combination of Pagluca Sorgio. The second year, it was the Nathan Pickett show. Mm-hmm. The third time, it was George McMichael. And the fourth time, it was Ronan Mobley. So if you're saving that last spot for a goalie, and it comes down to Mobley versus McMichael, I think it's a toss-up, but I think the body of work that Mobley put together in his final year gives him a little bit of the slight edge.
Yep.
Beautiful. Mobley, you stay, sir.
Hey, you know what? It's a top 10. It's not an all-time team, right? So it's not going to. We can't include everyone, right? We can't include
only 10
everyone.
slots.
So
I mean, hey, it's honestly just a good way to sum it up, right? Me and you have this conversation. We've had it a lot over the years that a lot of these kids that are going to UMass Boston and Tufts and all these other really talented schools, SUNY Brockport. Yes, it's Division III, but there's just not enough Division I slots for talented hockey players. There isn't. What are we at,
not enough
60
division
schools now?
Not enough Division I schools, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Yes,
right. There isn't. But
there's 30 more Division II and III.
Yeah,
30 times 25. That's easy math for me. It's 750 spots more.
Right.
In Division II and III.
But just like that, there's just not enough slots for some of these top 10 teams. We can make top 15, top 20, top 30 for some of these teams. Avalanche easy,
Yeah.
But
so, hey, you know what? Solid back-to-back weeks, though, with the Rangers and the Avs. The Avs top 10, Tim Cronin, Matt Carlson, Wiggle Kerbrat, Jake Atkins, Nathan Pickett, Chris Aarons, Jake Mendezoon, Michael Tersoni, Nick Scrollis, and Ronan Mobley. It's a solid top 10.
Very good.
So that will do it for this week's episode. We'll figure out behind the scenes who we're going to highlight next week and keep moving a little bit closer, 1 week at a time, to the 22-23 season. Talk to you guys next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.